between the Celtics and the Lakers in La La Land. Here's the Celtics coming in having a great season without Jayson Tatum, and one of the reasons why is that guy. Did you see this move by Peyton Pritchard? Let's watch it back. Poor Jared Vanderbilt, number 2, just gets, I don't want to say, his ankle broken by Pritchard on this one. He goes back, hits it, but he wasn't done. End of the first half, they throw him the rock at the top of the key. Luka's chasing. Buckets, nails it. Celtics up 10 going into halftime. They honor Pat Riley. All the Showtime Lakers were there. You would think the Lakers would come out and blow them out in the second half. They tried. Here was Luka, back to LeBron. LeBron to the hole. They cut the lead down within 10. Then it's this one here. Jaylen Brown says, no, I got you. This is on Austin Reeves. A little push off, makes it happen. Then Brown wasn't done. Derek White gets it to him, and watch Jaylen Brown. Reeves trying to do his best. You can't stop Jaylen Brown right now. 32 points. Pritchard had 30 off the bench. They asked LeBron James about Jaylen Brown. Very interesting sound afterwards.
Listen, JB is doing, he's playing great basketball, man. And you can't fault this. This whole MVP thing, I don't understand why his name is not getting talked about some as well. Like, nobody gave them a shot to start the season. And he's having, 30?
Yeah, just under.
Yeah, just under 30? Yeah, it's a popularity contest sometimes, I tell you.
Popularity contest sometimes, I tell you. We bring in 2 very popular guys, Kendrick Perkins and Brian Windhorst. We start with Perk. Perk, you've been beating this drum quite a bit, but let's talk on a national level. Does Jaylen Brown deserve more consideration in this MVP conversation we seemingly have every single day?
Well, first, LeBron is wrong because they had one individual who gave them a shot, not to be the number 2 seed, but I had the Celtics making the playoffs this season. That's first thing first. But right now, if I had to pencil in the vote and had to pencil in the MVP, Jaylen Brown is getting my vote. He is doing more with less. And I say that respectfully to guys like Peyton Pritchard and Derek White. But what he's doing on both ends of the floor, no other person in the league is doing it at this level. Probably Victor Wembanyama, but he is the best two-way player in the game. And I'm talking about Jaylen Brown. The way that he's leading this team has a culture, it has an identity. And what we're seeing right now, we're seeing Jaylen Brown answer all the questions to the test. Can he lead a team? Can he be a franchise guy? And he is showing you that he is more than that. So now when we mention guys like Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic, Cade Cunningham, we damn sure have to mention Jaylen Brown in that elite conversation. He's number 1 on my chart as of now for his MVP frontrunner.
Number 1. Wendy, I look at this Celtics team. I don't think many people had him going this far and this high, this far into the season. And Jayson Tatum, there are whispers that he is getting back to health. He was at the game last night, but Joe Mazzulla confirmed he was at practice but would not give any details as to what that meant. So what are you hearing about Jayson Tatum's rehab progress and where we're at in that timeline?
Yeah, Peter, he's working back. I mean, I know that everybody wants to say, oh, it's going to be a certain day at a certain moment in the game, but Achilles recoveries are not linear. He is playing 5-on-5. He is traveling and practicing with the team. It is not something that they can pinpoint, but the key is we are only in February, and he is on the court working out in that vein. And I will say, he just released episode 1 of the documentary that he is making about his recovery. He would like to come back this season. He's not releasing a documentary about his recovery to say, I'll see you next fall, okay? But I also think that the Celtics organizationally, whether it's his teammates, whether it's the front office, whether it's Joe Mazzulla, who just stone faces when he gets asked about him, they don't want to apply any pressure to him. But let's be honest, with as well as the Celtics are playing, with as wide open as the East is, Jayson Tatum's availability is probably the biggest question mark in the NBA. That doesn't mean that he's going to be forced to come back quickly, but obviously it's one of the biggest things we're keeping an eye on.
All right, Perk, so let's play hypotheticals here. If Tatum does return in time for the playoffs, what does that mean for the rest of the Eastern Conference?
Well, right now, even without Jayson Tatum, the Celtics are the most dangerous team in the entire NBA. Imagine having an MVP candidate, the championship pedigree, a coach that should be up for one of the guys, a coach that's in the conversation for Coach of the Year, and playing They have no expectations whatsoever. They are literally playing with house money at this point. And that's a dangerous thing for the rest of the league because right now this team believes. You got your role guys that are being stars in their role. I love the pickup in Vucevic. He comes in and provide that spark. Get Jayson Tatum back into the mix, the style that they play at 75%. Everybody better watch the hell out.
I love it. Guys, we're going to get back to both of you shortly in the show. But coming up, will there be a brotherly shove showdown in the NFL? Yes?
Intro, he is the hooded Evan Cohen. Hoodie jacket combination today.
Love it.
Very nice, very nice.
Thank you.
She is the patriotic Michelle Smallman.
That's right. Go Team USA.
Yeah, we're all anti-Canada on this show. And I am the resident Super Bowl champ. Let's get to upon further review. Pat?
Number 3.
Bounce back win for Nuno's Knicks against the Rockets in front of a star-studded crowd that included new Giants head coach John Harbaugh on Saturday night in the Garden. New York overcame an 18-point deficit in the fourth quarter. The Rockets missed 8 consecutive shots and had 2 turnovers in the middle minutes, which opened the door for the Knicks to take control. Jalen Brunson dominated down the stretch with 4 made field goals in clutch time. But in his 5th game with the team, Brooklyn native Jose Alvarado was the real hero in Saturday night's win. Alvarado, who was the trade deadline acquisition from the New Orleans Pelicans, was used by Coach Mike Brown to spark the team's defense down the stretch, finishing with 8 points, 5 steals, and plus 18 rating over 20 minutes off the bench, even earning Jose Reyes-style chants of Jose, Jose, Jose from the appreciative crowd in MSG, affectionately known as Grand Theft Alvarado. Having the 5th-year vet alongside OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and a healthy Mitchell Robinson give the Knicks more defensive versatility and depth. If the Knicks are going to close the gap in the East between them and the Pistons, it has to start with more physicality and buy-in on the defensive end of the court. And that was the story against Houston. Cat, during the postgame, said that he challenged his teammates at the start of the fourth. Quote, "It starts with the first possession of the fourth quarter, playing defense. We got to get a stop. It's the most important possession of the game, and it's the first play of the fourth quarter," end quote. Karl Anthony Towns backed that up with holding Şengün to 0 made field goals in the fourth quarter. If the Knicks get that version of Cat in the second half of this season, they'll be in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, they got grimy, and they need to get grimy. And I believe that championship teams need to have that grimy nature to them. Alvarado gives them that. OG, obviously, and Josh Hart, that big 3 of guys. Mitchell Robinson, actually, I should say 4, gives them that for sure. The thing that I'm going to continue to keep an eye on is, remember last year in the playoffs, where you really had to stagger at times Brunson and Cat because of the defense.
Yes.
Those are your 2 best offensive players who are amongst your top 7 or 8 guys rotationally, your 2 worst defensive players.
Yes.
So that was
the problem against Indiana.
Correct. And that is always going to be the thing when you're playing against a team like Boston or Detroit that has many two-way players, which is my least favorite term in basketball. I hate the idea of
Because everybody should be.
This is not football. Chris Canty did not have to be good at offense. He could literally not be able to catch a football and still play 11 years in the NFL and be a Pro Bowl caliber player, right, for 11 years and win a Super Bowl. So to me, that's where the Knicks, as just an example, that's what you've said about your Lakers. It's like my best players don't play defense in big moments. That's what we have to see about and it's not the Knicks aren't trying to play defense. They're just not good at it, those 2 guys.
Well, here's the thing. Jalen Brunson leads the league in taking charges. So those are turnovers that matters. That is something. That is positioning. Okay, so undersized guard, cool.
Yeah,
that's what you do.
Run over.
That is your contribution to our defense.
That's fair.
Karl Anthony Towns and what we saw from him, if we can get that from him, like if he is that version of himself on the defensive end of the court and he continues to be engaged on offense, and I do think those 2 things work hand in glove, then all of a sudden the Knicks as a team raise their level, and I think that would put them on par with the Detroit Pistons. I think that'd be a hell of an Eastern Conference Finals series.
I think as we sit here today,
I guess it would be semis based on the current standards, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, the top 4 teams in the East, you could, right now, based on sitting here today on February 23rd, you could make up in your mind as to how they get to the finals. That would be Detroit, Boston, the Knicks, and Cleveland. All 4 of those. You can make that up. You cannot make it up after 5, right? Toronto, Philly, Orlando, Miami. You're not making up in your head how they're getting to the finals.
No.
The top 4, you can reason, here's how we do it. That's where we are now in the Eastern Conference.
Next.
Number 2.
NBA tanking debate is reaching a fever pitch, and I gotta chime in, y'all. Of course, the discussion picked up when Utah and Indiana were fined for violating the league's policy on player participation, $500,000 and $100,000 respectively. Now on the last Hoop Collective with Bontemps, McMahon, and Wendy, I'm just gonna put it out there. They said that NBA executives, if they could buy the #1 overall pick, would spend $100 million because of the talent in the 2026 draft class.
Wow.
They would spend that amount of money.
So $500,000 is not going to really deter them.
$500,000 is a rounding error for them. But here's the thing, y'all. In the post-super team era of the NBA, free agency has all but been eliminated due to the, quote, golden handcuffs that teams put on star players with the supermax contracts. So the only pathways to acquire premier talent are via trade in the draft. And because of that, tanking for better draft lottery position is always going to be incentivized. This year, the draft is loaded, as we mentioned, and there are multiple teams desperate to keep their protected picks. So it becomes a race to the bottom. Once again, the NBA is faced with the underbelly of team building in the Adam Silver era, which is non-competitive basketball for a third of the league every single season. Forget about all the other half-baked ideas about flattening the odds of non-playoff teams and non-consecutive years in the lottery, et cetera, et cetera. The only true way to tanking is a 30-pick draft lottery where every team who owns a first-round pick has the exact same odds for every pick. If a team has multiple first-round picks, it has obviously more chances in that 30-pick lottery. But protected draft picks would convey in the same fashion as they do now, but there'd be no benefit to losing games. The goal would be to incentivize teams to play to win the game, and this would get that done. All of a sudden, ending up in the middle of the pack would no longer be a death sentence for NBA franchises. Bad teams would still have a chance to get top talent. It just wouldn't be as much of a guarantee as it is now. And with the current economics of the sport and the second apron effectively functioning as a hard cap, the distribution of talent across the league won't be an issue. Let's stop rewarding teams for mismanagement and bad ball. They need to change the draft lottery, make it a 30-pick draft lottery with even odds for all NBA franchises.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. They'll never do it because they'll never voluntarily walk into the idea of a defending champion getting the #1 pick the next year, even though I actually think it would be good for the sport because of what I think we've seen super teams make the sport more relevant and more controversial. But here's the thing. You can't have a prolonged period of time with the team being able to maintain all of that talent. Right.
The Oklahoma City Thunder, we're talking about them being a super team or a dynastic team, and there's talk about them being able to having to break up the band because of the contracts they've got to dole out to SGA and Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, so on and so forth.
Right.
They can't keep everybody together.
So you know this. The masses don't. They've already replaced the guys they have on their team, which is really interesting. Hartenstein and Dort have already been replaced.
Yes, but here's the other thing.
No, that's their brilliant.
But here's the other thing that they don't talk about with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and more people should. They made that team because they tanked.
Okay.
They tanked for 2 years.
Hold on. Wait a second.
The San Antonio Spurs tanked. They just do it better than other teams like the Jazz, the Wizards, and like the Sixers. They did it better, but they tanked.
That's the issue.
And this would remove tanking altogether.
It doesn't work for everybody.
No, but here's the issue I've had. I've thought about this more and more.
Enough where people realize, you know what? Even if you flatten the lottery odds for non-playoff teams, there's still value in doing it because we have a chance to get in there. And guess what? When you flatten the lottery odds for all of the non-playoff teams, you just incentivize all of those teams to be even worse because they have more of a chance to get the #1 pick.
And as you mentioned, they don't care about the fines. Financially, it's not a big deal for them. So you have to put these guardrails in place because they will perpetually be bad so that they can be in a position to get this high-end talent.
The issue is not tanking. The issue is teams are bad at tanking. And what I mean by that is if you think about Oklahoma City, let me give you 3 names that's vital to their tank. You know why Oklahoma City won a championship last year? In part, Derek Favors, Al Horford, and Kemba Walker. Now you out there tell me why those 3 have anything to do with it. They don't. But you know what they did? Bad contracts with other teams, taking those on and getting paid off to do it, while getting competitive players to actually not tank where your culture is all off the rails like we saw in Philly forever. Like, they brought in Chris Paul as part of a tank. You know what Chris Paul did? best thing he ever did in his career, in my opinion. That's not meant as an insult. It's meant as a compliment. He said, "Oh,
He raised SGA.
SGA, here, my arm around you. I got you. I'm going to help. You've got all this. I've got that. I'm going to teach you how to get that now." The professionalism, all this, not that he was unprofessional, but these teams are not good at tanking. None of us ever have an issue in the NFL with tanking, do we? You know why? Because it always ends up with a quarterback. That's the problem with this.
There's a fundamental difference between the nature of the sport. The NFL, the shelf life for coaches and players is a lot shorter than in the NBA. So that like
I understand, but did anyone have an issue with the Raiders?
Organizations tank, players don't tank.
Of course not. But
yes.
Did anyone have an issue with the Raiders when they shut down Max Crosby? Because they're like, hey, he could potentially help.
Max Crosby had an issue with it.
I don't care.
But hold on. But that's the point, though. Max Crosby had an issue with it.
But they end up with Mendoza, and that's the reality. They know that it's a smart tank. NBA teams are not always smart at tanking. Just being bad doesn't help you. You have to be paid off to be bad.
But the tanking in the season for the fans and for the television companies doesn't work out in terms of getting what they're paying for.
It's why I've said you should register the tank and give fans, once you register tank, hey, we're a tanking team. Tickets to home games are free the rest of the season.
They need to get rid of tanking. You can't have a year where 10 of the 30 teams are going into the season saying we're not going to be good and we're not going to be in the playoffs.
It'll look better next year because the draft is worse.
It undermines the entertainment value of the product. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Get rid of the draft lottery. If you want to have a lottery, then make it a 30-pick lottery and everybody's got even odds. That way there's no incentive to lose games and every team should try to win every single year. Period. And guess what? If it falls where the champs end up getting the number 1 pick, so be it. You have a scenario where it could shape up where the Oklahoma City Thunder could have multiple picks inside the top 10 this year.
Because they got paid off to do it.
Number 1.